What did the royal family really think when Prince Harry's memoir turned out to be titled Spare? This unexpected choice sent ripples through the palace, just 49 days after the Queen's passing. The air was still heavy with loss from September 2022 when another jolt arrived. The publisher announced on October 27 that Harry's long-awaited story would soon appear in stores come January. A bold statement accompanied the news, hinting that as the world mourned Diana, Princess of Wales, millions were left to wonder about the hidden thoughts and future paths of the princes. At last, this is Harry's truth, the announcement declared, leaving everyone to brace for what was coming next. What secrets would the pages hold? Inside King Charles's court, the mood was one of anxious anticipation. Staff and advisors exchanged wary glances, knowing the title spoke louder than any media soundbite. Over time, Harry had carefully built his image through interviews, and this title seemed to seal his fate, a tale of being sidelined and mistreated by the family he was born into. In different corners of Europe, the book would carry names like The Minor, Reserve, and the other one, a clear nod to an underdog story spanning cultures. The palace, as detailed by a well-known royal insider, was a stormy sea of nervous energy that day. How would the court weather this brewing tempest? The announcement that day dominated every headline, even overshadowing the celebration of new coins featuring King Charles's image. One palace insider summed it up by describing the reaction as facing headwinds from across the Atlantic. In his book about the inner workings of the palace, a noted writer recalled that those 12 weeks were like battling fierce winds of harsh news and heated allegations, forces far beyond the control of the king and his aides. Yet, surprisingly, these turbulent times seemed to have little effect on the public's view of the monarchy. And the king himself? He remained remarkably unshaken. Could these very challenges turn the tide in his favor? Not long after, on December 1st, a trailer for a new 6-part documentary about the Sussexes' life in California emerged, adding another layer to the unfolding drama. The palace prepared itself for another wave of controversy, recalling the explosive March 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey, where Meghan made shocking claims about remarks on Archie's skin color. In every quiet corridor of the palace, there was a growing sense of dread over the damage these revelations might inflict on the royal image. How would the family cope with another round of public scrutiny? It was clear to everyone that Prince Harry had long felt dissatisfied with his role. He had often voiced his wish for the institution to change, to adapt to modern expectations. Yet the family could hardly imagine the extent to which their estranged member would push boundaries when the moment came. The bitter history between the firstborn and the so-called spare stretches back centuries, even to the 12th century when the rule of the first son took root. For a long time, all sons were seen as heirs, but the idea of a spare emerged later, a term popularized in the 1890s by an American socialite. Figures like Princess Margaret and Prince Andrew later found themselves labeled as the extra option. Does history repeat itself in subtle, unexpected ways? The role of a spare is a curious one, a standby who might one day be called upon to rule if circumstances force the heir's hand. Think of King Edward VIII, who gave up his crown, leading to King George VI's unexpected rise. Usually, the spare enjoys a freer life, less in the public eye. Yet, as hinted by the title of his memoir, Prince Harry's experience reveals that living in this shadow can stir deep inner conflict about one's identity within the family. In a candid moment during his interview with Oprah, Harry confessed, "My brother can't leave that system, but I can." He went on to express sympathy for his father and brother, trapped in roles they never chose. What might this confession mean for the future of the family? One major worry for the palace was the reaction beyond their shores. With much of the Caribbean and parts of the U.S. tuning in through their own media channels that have shown more warmth toward Harry and Meghan, there was a real fear that Spare could tarnish the family's reputation overseas. Adding fuel to the fire, a close friend of Meghan's revealed that the memoir's title was entirely Harry's choice, and not altered even after the Queen's death. After a tense wait, the 416-page book hit the shelves in January 2023, sparking an overwhelming public frenzy and quickly becoming the fastest-selling nonfiction title ever. Could this success hide deeper wounds beneath its polished cover? Behind the scenes, the mood was one of deep hurt. While no royal openly addressed the memoir, insiders from Prince William and Catherine's team insisted that both had avoided reading it, opting instead to rely on trusted staff for the gist of its revelations. One senior advisor confided that although the Duke, a man with all the modern news at his fingertips, knew what was in the book, he had people to filter the details for him. Meanwhile, the public feasted on every scandalous detail the book unveiled. Yet, many of these claims could be sorted out using what was already known, and several mistakes in the account stood out. What does this say about the truth behind the story? Take, for example, Harry's description of a heart-wrenching moment at Eton. He painted a picture of receiving a call just before Easter, with warm light streaming through his window as a courtier's voice delivered the tragic news of his great-grandmother's death. But the truth was quite different. He was in Switzerland, enjoying a ski trip with his father and brother when the news broke. This discrepancy was one of the many points that troubled the palace. As the insiders noted, the biggest concern was the glaring absence of recent events, his wedding, life as a married man, and the decision to step back from royal duties barely made up a fifth of the memoir. Was this a hint at more to come? The sparse treatment of recent history raised questions. Was Harry leaving room for a follow-up, or perhaps paving the way for Meghan to share her own story someday? It later emerged that the memoir had once been twice as long before key cuts were made. In a revealing chat with a journalist, Harry warned that his family would never forgive him if the extra chapters saw the light of day. This careful editing, it seemed, was a strategic move to keep the public eager for more. Could this be the start of a long-awaited sequel that the world is desperate to hear? Despite the strain caused by the memoir, the damage to the relationship between Harry and his brother appears to be less severe than feared. For the sake of the family's peace, Harry chose not to update the book for its paperback reissue on October 24, 2023, nor did he seek further interviews to drum up more interest. Rumors began swirling that perhaps he was growing restless with his new life in California, hinting at a possible return to royal duties. During the King's battle with cancer last summer, Harry even reached out to trusted former aides in Britain, seeking advice on orchestrating a comeback from exile. Yet, the plan soon fizzled out as the prince remained determined to stay away. So, if a return is on the cards, what might it really take for him to leave behind the shadows of Spare? Each twist in this unfolding drama leaves us hanging on the next word. The palace watches, the public speculates, and the story, layered with history, hurt, and the hope for something new, continues to unfold. What new chapter awaits in this tale of royal strife and reluctant redemption?